Welcome to Language from Nothing. My name is Justin Ryan, and this is the second video in a series of videos covering a language learning strategy I'm using called the interaction pattern. Now, in the previous video, I explained what an interaction pattern is, and I gave examples of 5 different types. Here's a quick recap. Substitution patterns, question and answer patterns, transformation patterns, combination patterns, and translation patterns. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the interaction pattern part 1. I'll leave a link to it in the post. But now that we're familiar with some different types of interaction patterns, let's create our own. In this video, I'm going to show you 6 easy steps you can take to create your own interaction pattern. Here's a quick overview of the 6 steps. 1. Find a phrase. 2. Comprehend the phrase. 3. Choose a pattern type. 4. Create variations. 5. Set up an interaction. 6. Engage the interaction. Okay, so here are the 6 steps we're going to use to create our own interaction pattern, and I'm going to demonstrate it on the board here. First step is to find a phrase. I found my phrase from DIY Spanish, Top 12 Tools for Speaking Spanish by Mark Rea, or Ria. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but if you're trying to learn Spanish, excellent book. I highly recommend it. Okay, so the phrase that I found from that book is... So now that we found our phrase, step 2 is to comprehend the phrase. This has 2 parts to it. The first part is to recognize it in the new language. We want to know what it looks like and what it sounds like in Spanish, roughly. So, necesito encontrar un banco. And yes, I know I'm butchering the pronunciation probably, but this is partly on purpose to show you that you don't have to be perfect before you start. Okay, so again, first part is to recognize it in the new language. The second part is to understand the meaning. So necesito means I need. Encontrar means to find. And un banco, can you guess, is a bank. So now that we recognize the Spanish and we understand what it means, step 3 is to choose a pattern type. Now if you remember from my first video, I talk about 5 different types of patterns that you can make. So we're going to do substitution for this one, and substitution basically is taking part of the phrase and substituting it for something else. So in this case, I'm going to take the place, a bank, and I'm going to change that and substitute other words in for that. So the main phrase will be, I need to find, and then we're going to change a bank. That's substitution. Step 4 is to create variations. Now I've only written 4 variations here, but I recommend to make at least 10 to 20 variations for good solid practice. Okay, step 5, set up an interaction. There are 2 parts to an interaction, a prompt and a response. And since this is the phrase that we're practicing, this will be our response. And the goal of the prompt is to get us to say the response. So for substitution patterns, it's really easy. I'm just going to use the substituted word as our prompt. So here are our substituted words. Un banco is the prompt, and the response is necesito encontrar un banco. Un hotel is the prompt, and the response is necesito encontrar un hotel. Same with tienda and same with cine. That is our interaction. So prompt, response. So now that we've set up the interaction, we want to put it to practice. Step 6 is engage the interaction. And the way we do this is we hide the response, we read the prompt, and then we give the appropriate response out from memory. So un banco, do you remember what the phrase was? Necesito encontrar un banco. And then we check ourselves. Yes, necesito encontrar un banco. Un hotel. Necesito encontrar un hotel. Then we check. Yay. Una tienda. Necesito encontrar una tienda. Un cine. Necesito encontrar un cine. And that is the gist of the interaction pattern. So let's take a look at a few more examples. So we looked at a Spanish phrase already. Let's do the same thing in German. So step 1, find a German phrase. Ta-da! There we go, German phrase found. Step 2, comprehend the phrase. This is where we recognize what the new language looks like and sounds like, and we understand what it means. So, yesterday I was at the cinema. Gestern war ich im Kino. Now, I know that I'm butchering the language. This is partly on purpose to show you that you can get started without being perfect in pronunciation right away. Okay, so we've comprehended the phrase. Step 3, choose a pattern type. If you remember from the last video, we have 5 pattern types here. I'm going to choose substitution again. So I'm going to substitute im kino, which is at the cinema, with different places. So substitution is my pattern type, and step 4, create variations. Let's create our variations. Here we go. Now we have at the cinema, at the bank, at the store, at the coffee shop. Gestern war ich im Kino, gestern war ich bei der Bank, and so on. Step 5, set up an interaction. Now an interaction, remember, is 2 different parts. One is the prompt and the other is the response. So for substitution patterns, you can actually just use the substituted word as the prompt in order to get you to say the response, which is the full sentence. So reading im Kino, your response is gestern war ich im Kino. And that is the interaction set up. Now let's engage the interaction. And the best way to engage the interaction with our interaction pattern is on flashcards. So here's our prompt on one side of the flashcard, im Kino, which is at the cinema. And when we see this and when we read this, we want to then speak and say the full sentence of our response, which is, see if I can remember, gestern war ich im Kino. And then we flip over the card and check our answer. Yes, gestern war ich im Kino. Yesterday I was at the cinema. Okay, so next, bei der Bank. I think it's bei der Bank or bei Bank, I don't know. But anyway, the response is the full sentence. And let's see if I remember. Gestern war ich bei der Bank. Yes, gestern war ich bei der Bank. Im Laden. Gestern war ich im Laden. Yay! In der Cafeteria. Gestern war ich in der Cafeteria. Bleh. Gestern war ich in der Cafeteria. Oh, that was terrible. But anyway, you see how it works. Okay, so let's do this again in French. So let's find a French phrase. Ta-da! Comprehend the phrase, c'est ma table. C'est is this is, ma table is my table. Recognize and understand. Next, choose a pattern type. We have been doing substitution patterns so far, so let's change it up and do a question and answer pattern. This is where we ask a question and give the answer. C'est ta table is the question, is this your table? And the answer is, yes, this is my table. Oui, c'est ma table. Next, create variations. There you go. We have, this is my table. Yes, this is my desk. Yes, this is my bed. Next, set up an interaction. With question and answer patterns, it's very easy to set up an interaction because you can use the question as the prompt and then the answer as the response. Pretty obvious. So the question, c'est ta table? Then the answer, oui, c'est ma table. Is this your table? Yes, this is my table. And on and on. Now, one thing I do like about question and answer patterns is that maybe you're trying to work on forming questions in the language. Well, then you can just use the answer as the prompt instead. So you would read, oui, c'est ma table, and then you would respond with the question form of that. So now that we have an interaction set up, let's engage. On one side of the flashcard, we have, c'est ta table. Do you remember the response? I think it's, oui, c'est ma table. So we flip it over, check. Yes, oui, c'est ma table. C'est ton bureau? Oui, c'est mon bureau. C'est ton lit? Oui, c'est mon lit. C'est ta chaise? Oui, c'est ma chaise. Okay, let's do one more language, Polish. Step 1, find a phrase. 2, comprehend the phrase. Recognize and understand. Łyżka jest duża. The spoon is big. Choose a pattern type. We've done substitution and question and answer, so this time let's do transformation. Transformation is transforming part of one sentence into something else. So in this instance, the spoon is small. Small is transformed into big. So we have the spoon is small and the spoon is big. Now we create our variations with spoon, fork, knife, and plate. Step 5, set up an interaction. The prompt is, the spoon is small. The response is, the spoon is big. And just like a question and answer pattern, you can switch the transformation patterns. So you can go from small to big, or you can go from big to small. Okay, engage the interaction. Let's use our flashcards. Łóżko jest małe. Do you remember? Łóżko jest duże. Check. Yay! Widelec jest mały. Widelec jest duży. Nos jest małe. Nos jest duży. Yay! So that is how easy it can be to create all sorts of your own interaction patterns from any language that you want and any phrase that you want for good, solid practice. Now let's review those steps one more time. 1, find your phrase. 2, comprehend the phrase. 3, choose a pattern type. 4, create variations. 5, set up an interaction. And 6, engage the interaction. Thank you so much for watching. Was this helpful? Was this not helpful? Please leave me a comment and let me know. But until then, see you next time at languagefromnothing.com. Welcome to Language from Nothing. Welcome to Language from Nothing. My name is Justin Ryan, and this is the second video in a series of videos on the Welcome to Language from Nothing. My name is Justin Ryan, and this is the second video in a series of videos covering a language learning strategy I'm using called the interaction pattern.